But your team signed Zubimendi, Gyokeres, Noni, and a handful of other guys that have been, I would consider depth pieces. That's why I honestly just chucked the big three up. But I kind of want to hear your opinion. Let's start with Gyokeres and Noni since the most recent, and then we can kind of shift into everybody else.
Yeah. Gyokeres, I'd like to point out that they haven't finalized anything. Like, all this formal advancing just for agents to then come to London to then start discussing the terms. So
Portuguese
that's not
teams
finalized, which, yeah, I'll just give my opinion of the player. Like, I do think he's a really good player. I remember hitting up Grant after the Coventry Luton playoff final, and bringing up this guy and then going into a loophole on YouTube and watching him. And then he eventually moves to Sporting. I've been a big fan of the player. I just think, with just like preference of how I like my team to play and what I think would best fit us, I don't think he is the best fit. But it's not really worth the discussion when C.O.C is at the price and Ekitike is at the price that he is. So market opportunity, I think it's honestly relatively cheap, cheaper than I thought we would get him for, if it goes through. He puts the ball in the net, which has been a complaint of mine from last season. I think my opinions evolve there a little differently. I think you need wow and like world class in certain moments, and he could be, and I could eat my words. I don't really see that. I think you'll get a lot of Havertz minutes. I could see a world where both of them play at the same time and they kind of play off of each other because their strengths, or they're very complementary of each other. Like, I think Gyokeres, even for his size, can't really back to goal, like hold the ball up when the initial header, and kind of come deep. He can do it a little bit, and then vice versa. Like, he can run in behind and be clinical, whereas Havertz in those moments kind of struggles. And there's some hope for Martinelli there, that he likes to drift out wide, and then Martinelli can make those diagonal runs in behind. So, I mean, there's positives. I mean, there's ways to get creative with it. I'm not going to shit on it. I still think it's a really good player coming into the club. And I trust the manager to figure it out. He has. I mean, I felt iffy about Havertz coming in, and now I really do think that he suits the way that we play. So, yeah, overall, that one would have preferred C.O.C, but obviously at that price, not really worth it. It'd be interesting to see, with this being delayed so much, and like maybe you go back to Leipzig and you're like, hey, are you willing to negotiate now? But I probably think that's unlikely at this point. Noni, I think it was a weird start to the window. Definitely not I don't want to call it a priority signing, but it wouldn't have been the one I had done first. But if a player wants to come and you think that you can secure the rest of your targets, then ultimately order of operations doesn't necessarily matter as whatever you get at the end. I like the player. I always talk to Grant about how I like players that they don't care and will run at their fullback and just want to do something. And I think obviously C.O.C missed a lot of time last year. Martinelli's not really been in great form. I don't really think Noni's really that great off the left. I think he's much better off the right. So it gives C.O.C some breather minutes. I like the idea of they're kind of the same in terms of they'll go at people, just different approaches. Noni's really just, I'm going to run at you full speed, get you off balance. C.O.C can kind of be a little bit more patient in his approach. I wonder about the possibilities of C.O.C then playing the 10 and Noni playing out wide. So yeah, I just think overall those two, it'd be interesting to see how it works out. I think they'll be sharing a lot of minutes, mostly Gyokeres and Havertz. I think Noni will take a backseat to C.O.C for sure, but he'll get minutes in the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, even in the league. So yeah, I would like to see C.O.C play a little bit more of the 10. I think that would be really interesting. And then I don't know if you want me to talk about Zubimendi, if you want me to pause there.
Let's wait on that. But I'm curious because you did say there that you want to see C.O.C in the 10. Does that then move Odegaard out of the side? Like is that how do you tactically make that work? Just so I can visualize it in my head.
I think at the end of the day, this discussion's been going on all summer that these teams are playing 60 to 70 games. Like, I think if you're one of these teams at the top level, you've got to start having honest conversations about if they're not going to limit the amount of games and they're just going to introduce like rest periods or whatever it is, then you have to be a bit better about having versatile guys that can play different positions, and it allows other people to rest. Like, there's a world where Saka could play the 10, Odegaard could play the 8. They're both playing. Like, no one's being removed from the lineup. I just think that, like, if you have players that are able to play in different positions or just like I don't know, like I like the idea of Noni's a runner who can run at someone, and then Saka just offers a little bit of a different threat like right next to him, and they can both interchange in those positions and be successful from that position.
It reminds me of like Kulu and Brendan Johnson at Spurs when Kulu went into midfield.
Or even Noni and Palmer. Like, there's
also a world champion you're bringing into the team, so winning experience. I think that's something.
Yeah, he didn't play in the final.
We're shipping him a medal. All good. You let everyone try it on.
Nice. I thought Trump took it. Anyways, yeah, I just think if you're one of the teams at the top level, you have to give guys rest and just rotate. And if that means guys playing in positions that aren't familiar, then I think that's okay. I overall, I think squad depth has been improved a lot. Like, obviously we're not talking about guys in the 6 or the back end of the field, but I think overall the ability to have 2 at every position and have 2, that's been my biggest complaint, is when the guys that aren't playing well, that are starters, they're not playing well or whatever, then the guy that comes in really isn't at the level. Like, they're worse than when a starter's playing bad. So it doesn't really make a difference. I think this season you'll see guys more at the level, so it just helps. So when you're playing in those competitions, like, I think everyone's biggest complaints, like, why can't you win an FA Cup? Why can't you win a Carabao Cup? I think these moves at least make you a bit more competitive in those areas and give you a little bit more depth in the league when you're playing in December or whatever it is. So overall, I just think you kind of have to get used to it, and the good teams are going to have good players everywhere, and they might not be playing every game. Like, I think City is set a pretty good example of what that looks like.
Yeah, we've talked
players covering.
We've talked about that in the aging report of like just how many guys you need, and honestly, I just think that's modern football at this point. Like, we're getting to a point where everybody's just going to be a buyer's market, and eventually you're going to see all these crazy squads that are just like Chelsea's. Chelsea just did it first. I think City are on that wavelength.
Head of the curve, baby.
Yeah, and so everyone's playing catch up. I think Arsenal's just the next team in that wave. I mean, how many guys have you guys said now? Like, including the kid that is reportedly getting 6.
I think you're going to have windows within your PSR in which you're a competitive team, and you're going to have to designate like 1 of 3 summers to really make a coordinated plan in a transfer window when you're spending a lot of money and then giving yourself those other 2 years to kind of balance your books. So I think this was just our window, and I think it's weird that everybody feels like they kind of have the same window where they're all trying to make a play at the league because it's so up in the air. But yeah, I would have rather this last summer, to be completely honest with you. But ultimately, if the guys that, I mean, Zubimendi ended up coming, so it didn't really make a difference. It's just other positions in which there wasn't a lot of like there's not really good striker pool last year. So, like, I don't know. You just kind of got to take what the market gives you at points.
Yeah. Save up for Isak. I think you guys have had a pretty good window, all things considered. I think the Noni news at the time, I was a big fan. I think obviously for a few reasons, it's good banter along with the profit. Again, our whole project, we have to sell. We've cooked the books for a decade. The byproduct of that is we need to sell to comply with PSR, whether it's academy players or making profit. But like you said, that news coming out before getting the Gyokeres deal, we're at 90% at this point. Before getting this other business done, I think Mosquera is a good depth piece. The only thing left is probably an Eze, someone similar in that profile. That's the only other thing I could think of. Maybe one more attacking setting, but I think you've gotten everyone on your list. I mean, you got a backup keeper. Thanks for the 5. Madueke is good depth. I think he could play across that front line. To your point, he's going to play. There's going to be a lot of variations of how Arsenal set up. There are minutes in there. Norgard, I think, again, that was kind of funny at the time, but it's a good signing. He's played in this league. I thought anytime we play Brentford, he always has a pretty good game against us. 11 million. You saw those videos of him behind the scenes. He's going to play for every time he plays.
That was kind of cool.
I think that was a really good sign. Absolutely. It's beautiful stuff. It really is. So that's a good signing. And then, Zubimendi, he's going to be very good. I think it's a very good sign for them. Can hold Rice's hand a bit. Rice push up even more, really unlock him, like get the best out of what his skill set is and what he's able to do and bring to the table. I think it's going to help him out a lot. I think Odegaard as well. So I think that midfield three looks really good. Up top, I think it really just kind of we don't know what Gyokeres is going to do. I think to Facundo's point, he's going to score goals. I think he's going to end up with goals regardless of whether we think he's shit. He's really good. He'll put away chances. But similar to Facundo, I have my reservations. I think we're pretty much on the same page in terms of Šeško's the better profile, but he's too raw and way too expensive. It didn't make sense. This guy who scored 60 goals again for this price, it's less than Havertz. Like, yes, deal. So it's pretty simple. I think they're going to be a good team. There's no doubt. I mean, we love making fun of them. They had a bad year, and I think it goes back to their window. They didn't do anything last summer.
Yeah.
So they're responding. This is intent. We've been talking about it all the time. One of all these teams because we enjoy it. But then when we give credit talking about, there's intent. This is intent. They're saying we fucked up last year. We can't have that again. Rectified. And I think they're pulling every string they can to do it. It took a little bit. I think they had to have been working behind the scenes. They don't want prices to go up to get involved. Fucking bid on someone again. Taking care of their business in the background. And I mean, they're all but done. What do you think, though, Facundo? Anyone else you need to get?
The deals have been surprisingly favorable in our favor. Like, I think in terms of just price, like, not trying to get nerdy about it, but I just think like base fees, add-ons, like whatever the agent 10% thing like was, like it's lesser value than I thought, or it's less value than I thought we would have to pay. It kind of took a while, I think, to get used to how the sporting director operates, as opposed to where like Edu was just super methodical, and if it wasn't your number one target, you kind of pivoted at the end. And I think that was the frustration a lot. Yeah, I think the position I played, so I think it's honestly one of the most smartest players on the field, but I honestly think that Zubimendi signing is going to be really, really good for us. Just a guy that really knows how to dictate the pace of a game. And my biggest thing with that position, and I get it, Bryce doesn't do this enough, but is pass the ball forward. I don't, obviously with some discretion, but I think the fact that he's willing to kind of just play through lines and get up the field quicker, and then just have moments where he knows his team just needs to sit in a little bit and just keep a little bit of the ball. The depth there with Norgard, obviously being experienced in the Premier League, another leader, another older guy, which I think matters in terms of just like having a voice in the experience and just bringing something new in terms of like an appreciation for where he's at, the players he's going to get to play with that are going to bring the best out of him, and then him just making sure that he's pushing those guys. I haven't honestly seen a whole lot of Mosquera, the center back signing. So I'm excited to see what he kind of looks like. But from what I've heard, is just kind of similar to Saliba, really good technically with his feet. But yeah, overall, I mean, if you've got to get that left wing 10, whatever, as a Rodrigo, like, I don't think it's Rodrigo. I think
just one player though.
Yeah, I mean, just get Eze, and then
it's looking like Eze.
If you have leftover cash and you feel like you can buy a youngster, in that position, like I don't know what there's a kid on Lyon or something.
Fofana?
Maybe, yeah, that's getting a lot of like hype right now. I haven't watched any of him, but maybe, yeah, like you give Martinelli another year, that means and if it doesn't work, then you can sell him for a good amount of cash next year.
You know what, Dylan?
And then you have someone else. But
good left winger, actually, that I think Arsenal he'd do well there. Can you think of one?
Yeah, there's a specific profile that I sent you that I think Arsenal could use a bit of off the left wing, and he's definitely one of them.
What was that profile?
I can't say it on the podcast. Unfortunately, I'd have to clip it out.
Number 17, Facundo. What would you think of him at Arsenal? I think our sporting director still might fucking buy the guy. So I don't know.
I mean,
But yeah, I think
I was
Eze,
gonna
the
say
deal
that
might be difficult. I saw they don't want installments. Palace, they're
I
stingy with that
haven't
one.
really
It makes sense.
I don't really take unless it's Ornstein telling me something, I'm not really going to take it for value. I've heard that the release cost is 68 million. I think they'd be willing to negotiate a little bit beneath that. I think they'd want a good amount of that up front. Obviously, we would try and do a lot of that stuff in installments or just a lower than the 68 million release cost. But I was going to say that if the Gyokeres thing didn't work out, I think the next option would have been a João Pedro, and I would not have been mad at that. I honestly,
he's pretty good.
Relatively around the same price, and I honestly would have. I'm just one of those people that I'm like, your 9 has to be able to like drop into midfield and play. That's just an expectation for me. So